Hi Internet. I am going to preface this video by saying that I do not like Bradley Messina at all. Not as a lover, not as a friend, not even as a human. Many of you have guessed in the comments that Bradley is that ex-Voldemort that I have mentioned, and you are correct. Lately, I've just been thinking a lot about the whole thing, and I can't talk to Donna or Claudia about it, because they just say, see, I knew you guys liked each other. You should go get married and make millions of babies. So, I'm talking to the internet about it, I guess. Bradley and I met in our sophomore year of college when we both did an internship at a small local law firm. We're both rather opinionated people. We would argue all the time about the problems that they gave us to solve. As B used to say, I'm not very good at being wrong because it happens so rarely that I've had very little practice at it. So we'd argue. And sometimes these arguments would last for hours. And even though they're about things that anyone else would find incredibly boring, like precise wording in a patent, they were honestly the highlight of my day. And I know that must sound incredibly dysfunctional, but we never hated the other for disagreeing afterwards. Even though we always left the office with plenty of time to spare, we would invariably miss the train. We'd walk as slowly as possible so that we'd miss it and have to take the next one an hour later so that we'd have extra time to hang out. And while we were waiting for the next train, we would go to this tiny little hole-in-the-wall Thai place. B hates cilantro, but everything he wanted to order was always sprinkled with it, so as soon as his plate touched the table, I would grab the offending greens and put them on my plate. And then he would always order the chicken satay so that I wouldn't feel awkward about just ordering extra peanut sauce and eating it with a spoon. The first time we went, he'd never had peanut sauce before. Hugo is deathly allergic to peanuts, so he'd always avoided it. Anyway, he was kind of hesitant about getting it, and I said, trust me, I'm like the wise old Ben Kenobi of peanut-based dishes. And we were really tired, and for some reason, this just was absolutely hilarious. We laughed for like a minute straight. After that, he always called me Ben. He doesn't do that anymore. One night after Thai, we were walking back to the train station, and we were arguing about something silly. I think it was like the best superpower. And I just slipped my hand into his. And then we held hands all the way back on the train, and after that, we were always together. A few months later, one of my dads died from pancreatic cancer, and I don't know how I would have gotten through it without B. A lot of my friends were abroad that semester, and I really relied on him. I went home for a while, and when I came back, I didn't really have the energy to go to class, so he would go and get my work and then just sit in my room with me. I really just needed someone to be there with me, and without my even asking, there he was. He had an uncanny knack for figuring out when I needed to laugh and when I needed him to just be there with me and not say anything. Things with B were never perfect, exactly. I mean, we could rarely agree on anything, but that was okay. But I just felt like things couldn't go on forever. I had this gut feeling that I couldn't shake that, I don't know. B wanted to be a lawyer too, and the chances were that we wouldn't get into the same law school. So then senior year came around, and we applied to a lot of the same law schools. Bradley was very firm that he wanted to go to the same school. And then decisions came back, and I got into Stanford, which was my dream school, but B didn't. We did both get into UPenn, and it was like he had already decided that because we both got in there, that's where we would go. And then one day, I was hanging out in his dorm room, and he started to show me apartments near UPenn. I don't understand how we could talk constantly, and yet he didn't understand that I didn't want to go there. I had just assumed that with the way I gushed about Stanford, he would know that that's where I wanted to be. And then we got into a fight. A real one. For all that we were yelling, I don't think that either of us heard the other. He said things like, "If you loved me, you would go to UPenn with me." Or, "You only got into Stanford because you're a girl with 2 gay dads." That was about a year after my dad died. I stormed out. But as soon as I closed the door, I knew that I didn't actually want to go anywhere. So I just sat down in the hallway and waited for him to open the door and apologize. But he didn't. It's not like he'd ever admit he made a mistake. He's Bradley, so he can never be wrong. After that, I didn't hear from him much anymore. I kept waiting for him to come and apologize, which I knew he wouldn't, and he never did. In any case, both of his arguments were completely inappropriate. Obviously, choosing the best option for my education is not mutually exclusive with loving him, even if that best option doesn't include him. And yeah, I knew that as soon as I got my acceptance letter and he got his rejection letter, that we wouldn't be able to stay together, but I mean, I hoped we would, but it just felt like confirmation of that gut feeling that something was going to rip us apart. I mean, I shouldn't blame the universe that we would rip us apart. And arguing that my gender makes me a minority student, which, by the way, it does not anymore, or that my dads make me diverse, was just so inappropriate. He was just angry that he didn't get into Stanford, and that I wouldn't give up the better place to be with him, because if I had gone to UPenn, that would have proved that I loved him, or something equally ridiculous, and it would have proved that we were equally qualified, which, by the way, we are not. I got into the better school. And who is now working for his aunt? If I'm being completely honest, and at this point, what does it even matter anymore? Part of the reason that I didn't want to go to UPenn was because B would be there. I mean, say I did go to UPenn, and we fought for real, which seems inevitable given the side of Bradley that I saw that day, and broke up. Then I would have made a huge life decision based on a boy. A boy who, by the way, didn't even really love me all that much anyway if he was going to blow up at me like that and not support me when I needed it. I guess I didn't have faith that we would last, and I didn't want to give up my dream school because of him. I didn't hear Bradley's voice again for a few years. We went to the same conference in law school, and we ended up sitting in adjacent rows at a talk. I had no idea what to do with the fact that suddenly he was right there. Should I slip out before the end of the talk so that I wouldn't accidentally bump into him? No, that would be stupid and cowardly, and that would be stupid and cowardly, so I decided to say hi to him afterwards like the mature, reasonable adult that I am. And I realize as I am saying this that I am wearing flamingo pants and a TARDIS t-shirt. But when he saw me, he just sneered and said something like, "Oh, Bon, how cute you're at a conference, but surely shouldn't you be doing some big important work at Stanford?" Bon was what my high school debate coach called me all through senior year after I lost at state the year before. I really regret telling him that story. Of course, I couldn't let him get away with that Bon comment, so I said, "I'm surprised that UPenn even let you attend. I would have thought they wouldn't trust you to behave. You might disagree with the speaker and have a temper tantrum." And that has pretty much been our relationship ever since. I used to wonder why my friends hated their exes so much. It just seemed like, at some point, you thought this person was really cool, and Even if you had some bad history between you, shouldn't you still be able to see why you thought this person was cool in the first place? But I get it now. The people you love know exactly how to hurt you. Given the opportunity to do it all over again, I would make the exact same decision. I'm 100% sure that Stanford was the right place for me. And it's not like I'm pining away for him or anything so pathetic. Believe me, I'm completely over him. I wouldn't even want to be in a relationship with him if he offered. Not that that would ever happen, and I know that he's a terrible human being and all that, but it's just that lately between work and Claudia and Hugo, I've been spending a lot more time with him, and lately I've just been wondering... This is completely stupid, but just sometimes I wonder if... Never mind. It doesn't matter. Why am I even recording this?